I'm Caitlin Hartland, and every month I'll bring you all that is queer and dear to my heart. Out of Context aims to illuminate and educate the world about the queer community. Whether you fall under the queer umbrella yourself or are an ally hoping to learn more, Out of Context is for everyone. Hosted on Buzzsprout, you can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app, and become a patron on my Patreon page. Follow Out of Context on Instagram and Facebook. I would love to connect with you. Email outofcontextpod@gmail.com with your ideas and submit a context.
Here at Intoxicated Reviews, we intellectually dissect the art of cinema, scene by scene. Here's some clips.
All he is, it's just a fucking big wooden doll full of cum, chasing kids around.
You look up guys who poop in a bag. Because I think that's where you'll find him. Because he is hurt.
It's probably just in your search history anyway, isn't it?
This movie fucking blows.
So don't forget to subscribe to Intoxicated Reviews on all places you find podcasts. Except Spotify. We're working on it.
Hey everyone, Chris Hansen here of Hansen vs. Predators, and in Catch Your Predator, why don't you have a seat right over there and listen to Kyle and Brandon, our podcast. According to my chat logs, Kyle and Brandon have interesting guests.
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
Everybody's sweaty, everybody's on drugs, so they're super sweaty but also touchy, and then they touch your face, then you leave there, and the next day you have pimples.
Fantastic conversation.
He's underground in a lab, floating in a tank of water, because he almost died.
And most important, no predators.
Do not take product if you are hypersensitive.
Oh, hey Internet. Welcome back to the Intoxicated Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah McClellan. I love how I had to think for a second there as to what my own name is. I'm your host, Sarah McClellan, and if you're brand new to Intoxicated, this is a comedy variety talk show where I sit down with friends and comedians and various guests, and we shoot the shit about life. What is new, everybody? What is up? Probably nothing, if you're anything like me. Nothing going on here. I literally have nothing to talk about. Not much has been going on with me. I have been almost 100% purely nocturnal lately. Last night was another 6:37 a.m. night. It's just, it ain't good, is what it is. It's really not good. I just got like mega nighttime anxiety. And it's hard to fight that, and it's hard to sleep when your cortisol levels are like through the roof and you're just extremely anxious. So yeah, life's been boring, and I have nothing to talk about. Podcasting is hard. Podcasting is hard during this pandemic because I'm not living a lot of life. So that just is what it is. This is a great episode. So this week's guest is Jess from Lather Rinse Repeat Podcast, a local podcast here in Halifax produced by B&V Media, who is pumping out a bunch of amazing podcasts lately. But Lather Rinse Repeat is a dating podcast. Each week, Jess covers a variety of different topics, and she has a variety of different guests on, anyone from dating coaches to fertility experts to just people in her life that have some cool insight into dating. So please fucking check out Lather Rinse Repeat Podcast. In this episode, we get to know Jess a bit better, and we talk a lot about relationships and dating and also breakups. This is a fucking good one. We bonded over a bunch of things in this episode. So do make sure to subscribe to Lather Rinse Repeat Podcast. Give them a follow on social media. I will leave all links below to that. And make sure you're following Intoxicated on social media. So Facebook and Instagram, Intoxicated Podcast, and on Twitter at @in_toxicated. You can also leave an Apple Podcast rating or review. That always helps. If it's a really awesome, funny, interesting review, I will read it on the show. I will give you that shout out if you leave me a review. You can also check out Patreon. That's patreon.com/intoxicated. I said I was going to revamp it, and then I didn't. And you know what? I have no excuses. I'm just a piece of shit garbage human lately, and I'm currently waiting for an edible to kick in, so I'm gonna cut this intro short before it goes too off the rails, and I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode with Jess from Lather Rinse Repeat. Everybody, welcome to the Intoxicated Podcast. I'm here with a very special guest, fellow podcaster and podcasting crime. Jess from Lather Rinse Repeat is here.
Hello.
It's so weird recording over Zoom. Like normally, like someone's here with me and we can just like kind of be animated together, but like it's weird being animated over a Zoom call. Like
I don't mind.
Like
I talk with my hands a lot.
You're here, but you're not here. You know?
Yes.
it's very strange. I don't particularly like it, but it's better than nothing. It's better than not being able to podcast at all.
That's true.
So Jess,
I think some people have made that decision.
Yeah, some people have. Yeah, it's interesting seeing like who's still going and who kind of just was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But Jess, you're the host of Lather Rinse Repeat, dating and relationship podcast. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about the podcast and what it's all about?
Yeah, for sure. So I am a single girl in my 30s, and I do a lot of dating. Had a few little situationships every now and again, but for the most part, the podcast is a comedy about modern dating.
That's
its
dating.
big tagline.
And it kind of started because you had a co-host for a while there.
I did, yes. The first 6 episodes, a friend of mine, Himali, she and I had sort of planned the podcast and started it together. She's in school, she works full time. It was just too much of a time commitment for her.
Right.
So she pulled out of it pretty early on, which I sort of then was faced with the decision, do I just end this? Do I get a new co-host, or do I just fly solo? And I was lucky in the sense that I actually had my next podcast coming up was as we were interviewing a guest. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to wing it.
Right.
And I have a producer, Mark, who's been on your show before.
Yes, Mark. Shout out to Mark.
Yeah, he helps me out whenever I don't have a guest, and he records the intro with me now, so I have somebody to talk at.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's taken a bit of a twist in the sense that now it's more about dating than it is about relationships, because we sort of had counteracted each other because she was still is in a long-term relationship, and I was the single one. So it got a little funnier, it got a little raunchier, and it got a little less relationship focused.
But that's the cool thing about podcasts. Like, they can evolve. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rule book on, like, you have to stay
I think
this
if you're
way.
not evolving a little bit, you're probably gonna plateau.
Exactly. But it is a tough decision to make to do a show solo, because it ain't easy. Like, finding guests, like running it by yourself, not having, like, if you're having an off day and like you want someone to bounce, like, you're lucky you have Mark, but even just running an interview alone can be hard. Like, it's not what people think it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that I've learned a lot about interviewing people in a pretty short time. I don't like to say my worst episode because I don't think that it was necessarily bad content, but my most poorly managed episode, like, it's so long. There's not a lot of, what's the word?
Structure.
Yeah. To it. It all sort of runs together, but it's a good story that doesn't get told that well because Mark had to work. And he didn't I knew it was running too long and I knew I wanted it to wrap up, but I had no idea how to control it. So falling on my face like that sort of helped, actually.
Right, because you learn from it. You figure out what you can do next time kind of thing. But that is a stressful thing, especially when someone, like, was the guest on a deadline or Mark was on a deadline? Like, it became, the story had so much detail to it, it became uninteresting. Like, as an interviewer, I was like, when are you going to get to the point? Why do you think those details matter? Right. But I just didn't know how to kind of cut it off and be like, okay, so let's get back to the meat and potatoes of this interview because nobody cares that you meowed like a cat. Especially when the person is, like, really chatty and, like there's no space for you to like hop in and kind of bring it back to like what it was. That's always a challenge.
What I should have done is when I realized he was like giving a lot of details, I should have like said, pause. I want this to be about this long. So you know how long your story is. Can you manage it?
Right.
It better. But he didn't know how long my episodes are. I never said that. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't.
Was this early on in the show? Like early on in the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like, it was over the winter. It was very cold. That's all I really remember.
Good old winters.
We were in the North End studio.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's the time thing.
I don't
is
know. Shit
stressful.
happens.
Shit happens, and you're gonna have bad ones. You're gonna have ones that you're not like. The point is that you keep doing them. You know what I mean? Like the consistency is so important, even if you're not totally stoked about certain episodes. Like you're gonna get better at it, and you're gonna have more and more that you're like really proud of.
Yeah, I guess I just felt like I didn't do him a lot of great justice because, like I said, it wasn't that the story was bad. It was poorly managed by me as the interviewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. It's hard. Well, that was going to be one of my questions to you. Like when you well, I guess first question, what made you want to start the podcast in the first place?
Well, before we started recording, we were talking about I had done an interview earlier today with a podcaster from New York City, and that was basically their podcast, the Girls Gotta Eat podcast.
Yes.
Combined with that and You Up, which is Jared Freed and Jordana Abraham from the Betches Network. Those two podcasts, I used to just listen to them at work all the time. And that was sort of how I got onto another few podcasts that I like, is just I would just be listened out. They would have no new content. So iTunes or Spotify would recommend something to me. I was listening to a lot of dating podcasts, and I kind of got like, well, this sounds like it can't be that hard. I could do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And my friendship with Mark just had a wide open door to say, make a podcast.
Right. So it all kind of fell together. Yeah.
I didn't have to learn anything. I just had to speak into a microphone, and all of a sudden it was out there.
Right. And what was it like for you releasing that first episode? Were you nervous as shit?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Like
nerve-wracking.
Recording it was fine.
Yeah.
It's just three people sat down in a room and I'm talking to one of them.
Right.
But yeah, when people started like messaging me and being like, I'm listening to the podcast, I would be like, well, I gotta go vomit.
Right? It's really nerve-wracking. Like
and especially now.
Yeah.
Like I'm 25 episodes in, and like I'll go on dating apps and I'll be talking to people and I'll tell them that I'm like I have a podcast, and then they start going to listen to it and they're just flooding me with messages about me, and I'm like, I know this shit already.
Okay, so this is something that we can bond over, because dating as someone who has a podcast, and specifically a podcast that's personal and where like you talk about your personal life, what's it like? Like, I know for me, like when I'm talking to a guy, I will get some people who will message me, be like, I'm listening right now. I'm listening to this episode right now. And it's just so weird.
Yeah, and especially for me, like I no holds barred. I'll tell people the fucking craziest shit that I've done, and they'll like be messaging me and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
I had one guy message me and was like, hey, I need to cancel our date. I listened to your podcast and I don't think we're a match.
You showed me that. Do you get that a lot? Do you get that reasoning a lot from guys? Or
that's the only scheduled date that I've ever had somebody cancel because of it. Wow. I've had a lot of people be like, oh, so are you just dating for podcast material? Is this going to end up on the podcast? And I'm like, if that's a big concern for you, then this isn't a match.
Exactly.
And they normally back down pretty quick.
Uh-huh. Actually, funny that you said that, because I just today was listening to Whitney Cummings' podcast, and she literally just said that. She's like, oh, I'm texting with this guy, and the guest is like, are you allowed to talk about him? Like, or is it okay that you're talking about him? And she's like, I don't give a shit. If he doesn't like it, then we're not meant to be. And I was like, that's a great fucking like attitude to have. Because as soon as you get there, like you can just be like, whatever.
Yeah. The last guy that I dated for a couple weeks, you know him actually, but
do I?
He asked me like to not talk about like really specific things about him.
Right, specifics. There's ways you can be vague.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, you know, if I said, oh, hey, like I went on a date to blah, blah, blah restaurant and it was with him, I think he would be fine. But if I was like, oh, this is the size of his dick, he would probably be like, hey, could you not?
This is his occupation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, and I will never name names. I mean, maybe if I like got into a serious relationship, I would start using their name. Right. But like in the dating thing, like, yeah, I talk about the dates that I go on. I talk about the things that I do. I talk about the guy, but only that person would know.
Exactly.
Or close friends of mine, and well, they know anyway.
Exactly. So. That's exactly it. Yeah. I know. I always get.
I'm not here trying to ruin anyone's life.
Of course not. No. And it's your story to tell. Like, this is the thing. If you choose to have a date with someone and you choose to be a part of someone's life in a small way, like that person has every right to tell that story if they want. It would be the same as if someone wrote a book about their dating life, or someone wrote a blog about it, or painted a picture that was inspired by dating. Like, I don't know, podcasting is kind of an art in and of itself kind of thing. So that's fascinating. I want to know who this is. I want to know who this is.
After.
You tell me after. Do I know them well?
No.
Okay. But someone I know. Interesting.
Yeah. I had a really recent story, actually, that I don't mind sharing.
Ooh, let's share it. Because what?
It's because I said, because fuck that bitch. So an ex of mine is in a new relationship, and I had mentioned something kind of shitty that he had done to me, and she wrote me
on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was funny because like when she wrote me, I was like, oh my God, what did I say to make this chick that mad? So I go back and I listen to it, and it's not bad at all. And it's just like, but she like lost her mind at me and like sent me a message. I've never spoken to this girl before. Right. First, why are you listening to your boyfriend's ex's podcast about dating? That's weird.
That is weird.
Second, how are you going to text me and tell me that you don't like hearing these things? Because that sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. No,
anyway, I was pretty nice about it. Like, I was just like, look, I'm sorry that you heard something that hurt your feelings, but I think you should be talking to him about this, not me.
Also, you're welcome for opening up your eyes to the person you're dating.
Well, that was the last thing I said to her. I was like, in my experience, so-and-so is a pathological liar. So if you require the receipts on what I'm mentioning, I got them. I'll send them to you. No. She didn't write back.
That is the truth. Listen, when you said I don't understand why someone would listen, I'm like, I've definitely had times in my life where I would have listened to like my boyfriend's exes. You know what I mean? Like, that's a maturity thing. She's clearly immature.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I would tune into every episode or something, but if there was like a particular topic that I thought, I bet my boyfriend's going to get mentioned in this one, maybe I would listen to. But there's no fucking chance in hell that I would message the host.
That's taking it to another step. That's like, you're trying to change the past. Like, there's
and it was funny. I said whatever I said about him in the last 3 minutes of an hour-long episode that like dropped at 1 p.m. and she was messaging me at 3.
Whoa.
Told me she just happened to listen. And I was like, bitch, looks like you waited for this episode to drop.
Was it obvious via like the episode title what it might be about? Or I wonder if she was listening the whole time. Like maybe she's
about gaslighting. So maybe.
Wow. I wonder if do you know if they're still together?
Oh, yeah, she's pregnant.
Whoa. Well,
I like, I hope that it wasn't a big blowout. I hope that they are fine. I don't want to ruin like I said, I don't want to ruin anybody's life, but like, he did a lot of shitty things to me. I hope he's better to her. That's really all I can say about it.
Yeah, exactly. It was your experience, and like you're allowed to tell that fucking story. Like,
yeah, and it's funny because you would have to know this guy pretty well to have known I was talking about him.
Right. Interesting. Oh man. Yeah, I've dropped names by accident a couple times, and I've always bleeped them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, you know, when you're talking about someone, and then or you're talking with a friend or like a girlfriend, and you just say their name, just like,
yeah,
like
my former co-host, she never wanted to say her boyfriend's name, and that used to happen to her a lot because she's just so used to being like, and then blah.
Right.
But so that had to get edited out a few times. Luckily, we don't do video yet, so
there you go. So it won't be obvious.
It's easy to just splice a name.
Yeah, I've started in my video footage. I've started putting black blocks over people's mouths because I'm like, yeah, if you say like someone's name, you're gonna tell.
Yeah,
lip read or whatever. That's so interesting. And the other interesting thing, so you said you're 25 episodes in.
I think so. Yeah, because the last one that got released was 23, and then tomorrow's is 24, and then I recorded 25 today.
Right. And you did an episode a while ago that was talking about like an email that you got that was kind of like mean to you a little bit, like a guy.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Like, what was it like processing that? Because that can't be easy, number one.
I was really nervous about it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There was two reasons that I was nervous about it. One was because so the person who sent the email had said that they had been at the speed dating event with us.
Right.
So
we should catch the listeners up. So me and Jess, we went to a speed dating event together, which was run by our friend Geneva Dickey, who runs JE Matchmaking. Check her out as well. She's great. But you and I did this together, and then we podcasted about it after. And this guy who reached out to you was clearly butthurt from.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that I know who it is. It was somebody that I had like checked friendship with, and I think my biggest feedback on that event, and if I were to do it again, I would say that if I check friendship and they check romance, don't match us.
Yeah. Why would they?
Because I think that in two instances, actually, I had checked friendship, and this person like used that as a door to try to change my mind to romance. So I'm assuming that they checked romance. But yeah, anyway, this person texted me, and we were talking about accounting because that's what I do for a paid living. And he told me the difference between financial accounting and managerial accounting. And I was like, okay, thanks for mansplaining my profession to me. And then he goes, I don't think this is going to work out. Never heard from him again. But later that night was when I got so he must have went to my website, and there's just like a comment here box.
Right.
Filled that out, said his name was Mike, and just basically said that I was crap and I'll be single forever. It's like, okay, fine. I can live with that. I don't give a shit. But then he took it one step further and emailed Mark. And in the email to Mark, he had said that he met me at the speed dating event.
Right. And that's where you get that tidbit of information.
Yeah, it tore me apart. The really thing was, though, he said his name was Mike. Like, the email was like, Mike, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. But you had taken a picture of the list, remember? Mm-hmm. And I had asked you if you knew.
Yes.
And there's nobody named Mike on the list.
Right.
So my first nervous thing was like, I don't want Mark to be upset that this person, because I was kind of drunk at that event, and he was really upset that I was drunk at that event. Which I don't know why you texted me then. But I didn't want Mark to be upset at me, and I didn't want this guy to take it further and contact Geneva.
Yeah.
So those were the two parts of it that, like, I don't care. Somebody can message me and tell me they don't like me, tell me that I am a belligerent drunk and that I'm aggressive and erratic. These are all words he used. I don't care. I have a thick skin and I can handle that, but don't email my boss and don't drag an event that I attended into this.
Right.
That was why I didn't. I thought it was a bit much.
And he chose how he reacted to that situation. Like, it was him choosing to be a fucking
yeah. He's
asshole.
I have a 1-star review from him. God.
Listen, all podcasts should have at least one 1-star review. Mine, I think I have one that's like 2 stars or something that says something like, it's not bad. I put it on in the background. It's a little slow though. And I was like, not one person in my life would ever describe how I talk as slow. Like not one, like he's the only person in the world that would ever be like, it's going to take her a while to get it out. Like, like, Jesus, have you heard me talk? People think that it's probably the Red Bull. that definitely helps. But no, that's insane. And also, like, going back to your point about the speed dating and the matching, it's interesting because I think about that night and that whole process, and what I learned from it was that, like, you put friendship, I think in your case, you had only checked a couple people as friendship, right?
Yeah, so I think that in total I had said 3 romantic and maybe another 3 friendships.
Right. So for me, I don't think I said no to anyone. I think I literally put friendship or romance for everybody, and that wasn't right. Again, it goes back to, like, I'm trying to be nice. I don't want to, make you feel bad about yourself by saying that I'm not interested at all, but, like, I don't want to be friends with these people. I got enough friends.
Yeah.
I got tons of friends.
Yeah. I had one of the people that I checked romance with, like, we were texting, and it's just like, it was just flat texting. So I never really responded to, like, his last 2 messages because they were kind of stupid. And, I didn't really feel like I owed him an explanation. Yeah. I could have been like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. Maybe that would have been the right thing to do. But we didn't have a date. Like, we met for 5 minutes. So I was just like, I just kind of let it go. And every time he sees me on Hinge, he will answer, like, one of my prompts is, like, communication or something. And he will always, like, match with me and be like, you're not very good at communication. You are a ghoster.
Oh my God.
Men are fucking weird.
Okay, number 1, he's matching with you. So he's saying, yeah, I want to match with you. And then he's insulting you.
He just wants to get a dig in, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe he's hoping that I'll match with him and be like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. Or be like, yeah, I did ghost you. What do you want? But, like, I don't owe him an explanation.
I feel like these speed dating events could use some expectation setting. Like, especially with the guys. You know?
So, like, if I was to do it again, I wouldn't check friendship at all.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. And unless it was, like, someone who I could, like, get advice from later. You know?
Maybe if there was, like, some reason to network with them. But
yeah,
again,
exactly.
I think I would write somewhere on my sheet, like, unless it's 2 friendship connections, don't match us.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that shouldn't be how it's done anyway. It should always just be, okay, romance, match.
Yeah.
Friendship, match.
I can see it. You want to set up as many people as possible, and there's definitely many documented cases of people falling for their friends. You know, maybe the 5 minutes wasn't enough. So from an event organization standpoint, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't, like, as soon as she sent that email out, all 3 of them texted me that night that said friendship, whereas, like, the people that said romance actually, like, waited 2 or 3 days.
Actually, I matched with somebody and I never heard from them. And in all fairness, I didn't reach out either. You know? Yeah. But I don't like reaching out. It's just like it's just like how I am.
To the one that I liked.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. But we went out and it just was, like, not really very chemistry
interesting
driven.
So you have a lot of dating experience. Like, you've gone on a lot of dates. What in your mind sticks out as, like, what makes you like someone? Like,
I find if you're on a date with somebody and you don't have to talk about what you do for work, or you don't have to describe your hobbies to them, or you don't have to ask these, like, get to know you questions.
Yeah.
if everything is just like conversation is flowing and like you're like this, and then you get sidetracked and you're talking about that, and that's a good date to me.
Yeah.
A date where I'm not just like, okay, what am I going to say next? What's your favorite book?
I know. Do you feel like sometimes you have to lead the conversation? Like it's a podcast interview?
Yeah. And honestly, my first dates have in some ways gotten better and in some ways gotten worse since I started this podcast, because now I'm much better at just being like, okay, so, and leading the conversation and asking them questions about themselves. And I'm also much better at realizing they're not asking me anything.
Right.
And that's such a turnoff to me.
Absolutely. You want someone that matches you, you know?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about myself to somebody all night, and I don't want to have to ask somebody prompting questions all night.
Yeah, I totally agree. What are your thoughts on getting into like super deep conversations on first dates? Like super deep. Like I'm talking, like I went on a date with someone and it was good, like good conversation and stuff, but like we were talking about like, oh, okay, what mental illnesses do we have? Like that was first date conversation. I walked away going, well, that was fun, but probably should have left some things to the imagination a little bit, Sarah. Jesus.
I think that for me personally, anything that comes up organically is totally on the table. But if somebody, like if I'm just like, you know, being like, if this is me on the date, so any plans for the weekend? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going fishing with my friend. Do you have any mental illnesses? I would be like, excuse me?
It's the worst. And
how much do you make?
I hate when you sit down for a date and you just like, you instantly know you're not attracted, like instantly.
Yeah.
And then you have to like go through the motions. I fucking hate those. And I am always just like, okay, I usually set a time limit.
Yeah.
I'll be like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
My biggest problem in those situations is I'm a pretty slow drinker.
Yeah, same.
Especially if I'm drinking beer. Then you go out with a guy, they're always going to finish their beer. And I'm like half done mine. And they're like, oh, should I get another one? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And then I'll be almost done mine. And they still have like a third of their beer left. And they're like, oh, are you going to get another one? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. I hate that. It's so awkward.
It's one of those things that like, if I'm having a bad time and you, or not even a bad time, but just like a mediocre, I don't want to see this person again time, they probably are too. And like, I can have one night where I go out with pretty much anyone, you know, like, so sometimes I'll get the second beer if it's not too painful to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I find in a lot of those situations, I just don't text them. And then I also never hear from them. Because if I had a bad time, they probably didn't have a great time.
I think the difference lies in, well, what both people actually want, aka I think a lot of guys go on dates because they want to fuck. And women go on, I think generally speaking, women typically go on dates because they want a relationship. And I think what can happen is like a woman won't be interested and she also won't be attracted. And then the guy is like, well, I don't want to date her, but I'm gonna try for something. You know, like.
Yeah, see, I find like when I'm not into somebody, I'm also not flirty. Yeah. Like, so I think that somebody who might have been looking for something like that, like just that from me, and I wasn't into them, they're going to pick up on that. And they're going to be like, well, this isn't low-hanging fruit, so I'm getting out of here.
That's actually really good, because I feel like with some personality types, like I'm pretty bubbly and happy with a lot of people. And and from, you know,
well, that's
dudes,
what that's like juice for their energy.
Exactly. And it's not, people don't know when I'm really flirting. You know, like they always think I'm flirting. I have a lot of dude friends that like I consider like brothers, and I act the same way around them. But because I'm always really receptive and I laugh, and like I can laugh at your joke even though I don't want to fuck you.
Yeah, but see, that's powering them up. Like your laughs and your everything. It's like Monsters Inc. Scream powering. You're powering up their dick.
I'm powering up their dick. Yes. And then they're like, oh, okay, so this means I can hit on her. And then I'm just like, no, I want someone I can talk to, not someone I can just bang. So
I'm the most closed off person ever if I don't like you.
Oh yeah? You can just fucking tell right away, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm like I go out, I don't get hit on, like in group settings or like at bars and stuff, just because I'm not a very approachable person. And that's fine with me.
But you want to know, but what do you want in a guy? Like, what's your, like, personality type wise, what are you looking for?
I like somebody with a good sense of humor, somebody who can, like, just feel comfortable in most situations. Top of the list probably for me is somebody who has their own life and their own hobbies and their own friends. Yes. Because I have all those things and I don't have every night to spend with somebody. So if that's what their expectation is, that's not going to work. You know, I want somebody who's like, has some sort of drive to them. Like if you're, I don't care what your job is, as long as you're happy at it and you're hoping that you're on the path to something good.
Exactly. You're on the way to something. You don't need to be
in your dream job making six figures, but you need to at least say, I'm doing what I enjoy at this stage of my life, and my plan is XYZ to make it better.
Right. Have like some sort of ambition.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want somebody who's just like dragging their feet through life.
Exactly. Yeah, that's totally fair. So you said that you don't get hit on. Do you approach guys when you go out? Are you the approacher?
Meet a lot of people when I'm out, typically because when I'm out, I'm there to be with the people that I went out with.
Right.
You know, I don't have many single friends, so it's not like there's two little cougars hitting the town looking for their man.
Yeah.
Which would probably be a good way to, and I think that if I'm out there with that energy, which, you know, I've done it when I was younger, I am probably getting hit on in those situations. But like, you know, if I'm at Obladi, no guy's gonna like walk up and be like, so how is your night going?
I know.
Because I'm gonna be like, me and my friends are having a great time, thanks.
Bye. See you. It's so funny that you say that, because it's so true. It's this age too, I think, you saying that you don't have a lot of single friends. It's when you're in your 30s, like I'm 33 and I'm the same way. Like I can count on one hand the amount of like single girlfriends I could potentially go out with.
Yeah,
like,
same.
When we can do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And then to make, at this age too, to make one night work.
Yeah.
Is just like, it's not like I can go out on a Tuesday night now because I will be hungover until Thursday. So, and like, you know.
And you don't want to go out when you're like, when it feels like an obligation. Like, oh, I gotta go out because I'm single. I gotta make myself, like, you're going to be in the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
Like Geneva's taught me a lot about mindset. And I mean, that girl, shout out to Geneva, because I mean, she talks about like, you know, sitting at the bar and putting your body outwards so like dudes can commit, like stuff like that. And I totally, when I hear it, I get it, but I have a real issue doing it, you know, like it just feels weird.
And that's where it comes in that like I can't do it on a Tuesday because I can do that. When like 3 drinks, Jessica, is flirty and fun. 1 drink, Jessica is looking at her phone the whole time.
A little bored.
Well, I'm the type of person who brings a book to a bar.
Yeah.
Like, I will
but that
read.
Could be good. That could be an icebreaker for a guy. Oh, you're reading that book? No.
That's actually happened. I was at Celtic Corner one day, and like I was doing work on my laptop, and I just kind of got bored of it. But like I'd ordered food, I was having a drink, I was just having a little self party, and so I was reading for a little while. And this guy, I see him walk by and go to the bathroom, and then I see him come back and walk back to wherever he was sitting. And then he walks by again and like dropped a little note on the table. And it said like, I'm a big reader too. Thought you were cute. If you're interested, give me a call, and gave me his phone number.
Gosh. Did you call him?
No, I was dating somebody at the time.
Oh, that is really cool though.
It was probably 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was a bold move. I mean, I didn't really get a great look at him either because he was like so stealthy.
Right.
That I don't know that had I been in a position to call, I would have. But I'm also.
You'd have to see them to.
Yeah,
figure out whether
it was like the middle of the day. Like I was having a beer. I was too shy to like give them a once over.
Right. Attraction is important. Like just to have that initial like, okay, at least I can look at you. So
yeah, for sure. And like, I think that too, if you meet somebody more naturally than just swiping on their picture, you're able to say, okay, I like these 2 or 3 things about them. And, you know, maybe they don't have your dream body, or maybe they're starting to lose their hair, but like they've got really nice eyes and a nice smile. So, you know, I think that when you meet people in person, attractive enough is a lot more, it's easier to latch onto than on the apps when you're like, oh, is this person attractive enough? How tall are they? How old are they? What's their job?
You go down a hierarchy of
and then like you're just like one thing, you're like, oh, they have their teeth are kind of yellow. Fuck it.
No, I hate
that. As long as you can talk yourself out of it, you do sometimes, especially on Bumble, because I don't want to have to figure out what I'm now going to say to them.
I know.
I find on Tinder and Hinge, I'm a lot more forgiving. But I hate Bumble because of the time stamp
time
too.
Constraint. Yeah. I tend to match at 3 a.m. and then I forget I have to message them 24 hours.
Yeah, because when I'm swiping, I'm in swiping mode. I'm not in messaging mode.
Yeah. Oh man. So going back to dating and stuff, right now is a weird time. Right now we're in a fucking quarantine. How are you holding up in all of this isolation?
Honestly, so for the first 2 weeks, first 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, I was dating somebody.
Really?
So we had met like right before everything sort of happened. And then everything closed, and like we both live alone. So we sort of said, okay, do we keep seeing each other? Because if I have it, you have it. Mm-hmm. We're not putting anybody else at risk because like I said, we both lived alone. So we kept hanging out, and I think that it was hard because just the days are long, and like I was just sitting around doing nothing. He was still working, so I was like, why isn't this guy texting me? Right. And then it just it ended. Not going to talk about why, but so it did. And then for the first week after that ended was very hard.
Absolutely.
Because I was really sad. I didn't want it to end. And since then, honestly, I'm just kind of used to it now. Like I make myself a little to-do list each day, and the hours just kind of pass. Right. And I get shit done. Sometimes I relax. I haven't been feeling great for the past 2 days. Just headaches, just constant headaches. But I don't have any other symptoms. I
right. But I mean, like, listen, anytime I get a little symptom, I'm like, like I literally, like, there's been so many times that I've thought I've had it just based on like little symptoms here and there, I
mean, for me, it's like, if I have it, well, and I don't feel like I can't breathe or something, oh well, I have it, it'll pass.
Yeah, you've been doing everything correctly, so if you have it, you'll just deal with it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm not spending time with anybody now, so it's like, okay, well.
And the fact of the matter is, probably a lot of people have it. Probably a lot of people have it and don't know.
Yeah. I just think I've been getting headaches, all this extra screen time, and all this, like, I've probably been sleeping 9 or 10 hours a night, which really isn't. I wake up still feeling tired from that. Yeah. But yeah, like, I'm on a way better schedule. I miss my friends. I miss going out and doing stuff. I really need to get back to work. Yeah. But,
well, I know, because I heard you talking about it on an episode of yours, your time of Zoom, and how you hate Zoom. And I related so hard because, like I've said, I'm thankful that I have this, that I can like see people and still podcast and still talk, but I just fucking hate it. Like,
I just find it hard to end. Like, how do you say, and like, I've got a couple close friends that I've been Zooming with where I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore, so I can go. And they just know me, so it's like, they're just like, all right, like, because it's like, when you're on a call in normal days, it's like, all right, well, I got to run because I need to go do this. But it's like, actually, I just need to do exactly what we're doing.
Just
in
not
total silence by myself.
I know, it is really awkward.
I'm not really I like my time alone. Like, that's another thing that I look for. That's why I always say dating somebody, they need to have their own friends and their own life and their own hobbies, because I want to be alone sometimes. Like, if I was to cohabitate with somebody, we would each need a space that was designated as our own. The first boyfriend that I ever really, like, lived with, I was in university at the time, and he didn't want me to, like, I'm from Nova Scotia. I went to school in Newfoundland. He didn't want me to go home for the summer because we had done the long distance thing the summer before, and it was pretty hard on both of us. But I was like, I can't afford to stay here and live for the summer. So he lived in a house with his sister, but they had another bedroom. So I actually moved in with them just for the summer, which worked great because we knew it had an end date. I was moving back in with my friends in September. So we just, like, played house for a little while, basically. But that was one of my things. It was like, yeah, we slept in the same bed every night, but I was like, I need my own bedroom.
Yes.
Like, when I want to go take a nap, I don't want you to be fucking in my space. When I want to go read, I don't want you to be around. Like,
yes. So important.
So
you can smother each other. Like, I really feel for couples that are, like, in that, like, less than 6 month stage of potentially, like, being quarantined together. Like, you're going to find out real quick if you either want to marry that person or if you're done. Like, you're going to find out real damn quick.
Well, another relationship I was in, and, like, so the second boyfriend that I ever lived in, we'd been saving for a house. So we lived in a little tiny 1-bedroom basement apartment together, and we fought a lot because you couldn't get away. It's like, I don't want to have to go to bed to get away from you.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, where else are you going to go? And I didn't have a car at the time, so it wasn't like I could just, like, go for a drive. Luckily, we had a dog, so we could just take the dog for walks. And
wow. So how many boyfriends have you lived with in total?
Technically 3.
Wow.
But one of them was very short-lived and very bad.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like I said, it's a real test to a relationship.
And like that first one, like I said, like, we moved in together. We knew I was going to leave again to move back. So, like I said, we lived together, and I think I paid like $150 a month in rent to his mom because, like, his parents paid for their house. Right. And that was like, we lived together, but it wasn't real life.
Right. Oof, yeah. Oh boy. And when you break up and you live with someone, that is the worst.
So I lived with somebody. We were together for 5 years, and, like, we owned the house that we lived in. So it was like, you know, nobody could kick the other one out.
Right.
But when we broke up, so luckily it was a 2-bedroom. So I just moved into the spare bedroom until I could find an apartment and figure things out. We had a really amicable breakup. Like, we could still hang out and watch TV.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't because he wasn't a great guy. It was because our lives weren't on the same path anymore.
Well, that's good in a way, because you can just be like, it's nothing personal. It's just we're on different paths.
I mean, eventually we got there.
Right.
But, like, you start dating somebody. I mean, I was 23, maybe almost 24 when we started dating.
Wow.
And then, you know, then I'm 28, and now I own 2 houses with this person. Where, you know, we've gone on umpteen vacations, and I was just, like, staring at him being like, he would be like, oh, I'm going to do this, or like, oh, I'd love to do this. And I'm like, why?
Right.
I just could not, like, the way that he would describe his life was just absolutely, I was like, I want to go traveling. And he was like, well, I want to start a business. It's like, this might not be a match anymore.
Oh, okay. So it was just like you guys wanted different things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you start a relationship when you're that young, how can you, I mean, I know that as humans, even now, like, me 5 years from now is probably going to be different, but I don't think that my desires are going to change that much. Whereas, like, when I was 24, all I wanted to do was finish school and get a great job, and I was excited for those things. But then it's like, okay, well, now I have money in the bank. Why? I don't want to buy this house, but you want to buy it, so okay, we will. And then, you know, we were buying, like, $2,500 fucking couch.
Yeah.
What?
No big deal.
Like, it's just like, I just felt like we were playing dress up for
Plain
this
house.
life that I didn't want.
Right. Oof.
And so that was how we broke
Well,
up.
good thing you realized it and got out of it, you know, like.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously it hurt. It, like, I brought it up. It blindsided him. But then, like I said, we worked through it and it was fine. Everything was fine. Everything's fine.
That's good.
We're still very civil. I mean, like, I kept my name on the mortgage for a couple of years until he was able to, that's where I said he started his own business. He had to produce financial statements. You have to be in business for so long. So I stayed on the mortgages so that he didn't have to sell the houses. You know, every time I was in Newfoundland, he would still let me come visit the dog. When we had to put the dog down, he flew me there. So, like, we have no reason to talk anymore, so we don't. But if I ran into him on the street, I wouldn't be like, don't want to see you.
Wow. Well, that's good, though. Wow. I can't imagine having a dog with someone having to put the dog down.
Yeah, I mean, he was old dog by then. He was really sick.
Right. Yeah, a little bit easier than if that's the case. So would you say that you're, like, are you a relationship person? Like, do you consider yourself someone who, like, prefers, like, formal, long-term relationships?
That's an interesting question, because I think that a formal long-term relationship, there's not just one type of that.
Yeah.
But so, yes, ultimately, I'd like to find a person and build a life with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how that looks.
Yeah.
Like, whether that's 100% monogamy, whether that's, you know, like, it could be. I might meet somebody who I'm just, like, totally enamored with. But it's been so long since, like, I really had big love. Like, I haven't been in love in 6 years. And, like, I'm at the point now where I look back on that and I say, was that love? Have I ever been in love?
I feel the same way.
And
yes.
It's like, because the way that my capacity to love another person at that point, I believe has grown. So
yes,
I don't think that the love that I had for that person is what I would consider love today.
Right.
Because, like, I treated him so badly sometimes. Like, he would, like I would nag and I would be so angry every time he stepped out of the little box that I had put him in.
Yes.
And, like, but it's because I just wasn't mature enough.
Absolutely. Was there an age difference?
No. Well, I mean, I guess technically I was a couple of months older.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm February and he was October. So
I look back because my last relationship was 8 years ago. And I look back and I'm like, I was such a monster. Like, I was such a shitty girlfriend. Like, I just wasn't fun. I was, again, like what you said, naggy, controlling, really needy, like wouldn't, like anytime he had fun with people, like I would get really like, why aren't you home? I was overbearing. Mind you, I had reasons like why I was, and he ended up cheating on me. But like, regardless, the type of person I was and how we were together was so not right. And I think the love was real, but who I was, it wasn't me. Like,
yeah, I didn't have a lot of friends in Newfoundland, and so I felt that like he would go out with his friends, and it's funny because like I said, I list that as one of my most important things now. But he would go with his friends, and I would be like, well, what am I supposed to do? And he'd be like, well, you can come or you can stay home. Like, the choice is yours. I'm like, I don't want to go with your friends. I don't like them. And he would be like, well, then stay home. And I would like be texting him like, when are you coming home?
Exactly.
And it's like, that's not me. Like, I'm more the type of person that, like, if I was out with my significant other and I wanted to go home, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go home now. I'll see you later.
Exactly.
You stay out, you have fun, you do you. I wouldn't have done that then.
I always think, I'm like, if he was dating the girl I am now, like we would have been more of a match, you know?
Yeah,
like, I always think that.
Can't take anything back. You can't
change the past.
Nope.
Past is in the past. And I mean, breakups are tough. I mean, like they say it takes half the amount of time you were together to truly get over somebody.
And, you know, I believe that because, like, that ex of mine, like we were together for almost 5 years, and then I rebounded right away.
Oh, did you? Like how long after the breakup?
Maybe three months.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's pretty soon.
Yeah, it was very soon. I did it. I mean, it was kind of not nice the way that it happened, because like I had met the person while we were still together. We worked together, and I never would have left him. You know what I mean? I never would have. I would have just stayed complaining and nagging and being unhappy. And this person, I let them be the push. I never cheated. I never cheated on him. But as soon as we were like, I was moved out and we were done, I did jump into another relationship. But I also knew it wasn't going anywhere. Like, I had quit my job with the government. I was working at Boston Pizza full time. I was planning my move back to Nova Scotia. I wasn't making a plan with this person.
It was more of a comfort
it was
thing.
Just, I couldn't sit at home alone after living with somebody for 4 years. I needed that space and time. But then when I actually got back to Nova Scotia, I didn't date anybody for probably 2 years.
Right.
And then it was just as I was planning to go to Australia for a year, and I had gotten like the working holiday visa, and I was like, I sold my car, I was selling all my stuff. I met somebody then. So I was to leave in January, and we started like seeing each other in October. And so together-ish, we made the decision because I was going to just cancel the whole trip to be with this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was like, well, I think you should go because you'll resent me. And so we compromised on me going for 2 months.
Interesting. And then you were still together when you got back?
He broke up with me the day I got back.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's some 90s sitcom show type of shit.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Storyline in a TV show.
Yeah. I don't understand it, because like I could have made a phone call to some friends or family and been like, go pack up this apartment, put it in a storage locker. Yeah. I'd sold like all my big furniture for the most part. And get rid of this apartment.
Do you have a reasoning, like,
well,
break up with you like in person the day after you came back?
It was because I was cranky.
What?
Yeah, so my trip back from Australia took almost it was 38 hours or something ridiculous, because my flight from New York back to Halifax got canceled, and it's a long trip anyway, and so I was really cranky. So he came and picked me up from the airport and brought me back to my apartment, and he had a key to my apartment while I was gone. And so he had like everything there for dinner. He had a bottle of wine, he had flowers for me. We had a great night. Obviously I was exhausted, but we had a really nice night. Then the next morning I was like, okay, I need to get some groceries. I didn't have my car back yet. Like my parents had it because it was winter. They didn't want it just sitting there getting like snowed and iced in. And my mom was like driving it a bit. And so he took me to the grocery store, because obviously I hadn't lived there in 2.5 months. I had nothing.
Right.
So before that, this is such a dumb story.
No,
it's so dumb. So my mom worked at Tim Hortons. So we go to Tim Hortons, we each get a coffee, say hi to my mom, big hug. She had met that person before, so she was happy to see them all. Thanks so much for taking care of my daughter, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're going to the grocery store. So it's winter, and I had just been in Australia. And this guy parks at the end of the Superstore parking lot.
Fuck.
I had like a summer jacket on, not a proper winter jacket. And I was like, could you have parked any farther away?
Yeah. That's fair, though. That's
and
totally
I was just like,
fair.
I was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, and he was like, oh, well, whatever. Anyway, so we walked to the door.
Ugh.
And he was just one of those people that like kind of like to pick at you, as that's their sense of humor.
Yes. And
then we were walking in, and we each still had our coffees, and he was like, I want another coffee. This one's gross. And I was like, my mom made that for you. And he turned around and walked out the door.
That's such a girl. How old were you at this time?
30.
Wow. My mom made I totally get it though. It's like being unappreciative.
And I was so cranky, and then it's so stupid. It's such a stupid fight. Like, why'd you park so far away? Don't complain about something that my mom. You didn't even have to pay for that. You didn't even have to pay for it.
Yes.
And he turned around and walked out of the grocery store.
Wow. And that was it?
And then I had to walk home.
So that was the breakup?
Yeah.
And then there was nothing, no message.
Oh, for another 14 months, he still proceeded to sleep with me and say things like, well, if you would act more like this, maybe I would date you. And so I tried to act more like that, and
right.
It always just kind of, it would just
up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah, and that a relationship should never be like that.
No, I mean, it's just master manipulation on his part, and just total fucking naivete and desperation on my part. Like, I would have done anything to convince him to like me again.
I feel that though. Like, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me, and I was begging him to stay with me. You know, like stuff like that, where it's like, what is this? This is like straight up codependency. And also it's like there is an aspect of like, you just don't know what you want then. You don't know what you could have.
I just couldn't picture my life without him. And honestly, it wasn't because he was so amazing. It was because I had made all these choices to be with him.
You compromised so much.
Yeah, I could not fathom having lost my time in Australia, having done whatever I did to change my life for him for nothing. Yes. So I was willing to do anything to make sure that those choices were not for nothing.
They like paid off in a way.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like, if you're 3 years into a degree that you hate and you don't even want to do the job, but you still finish the degree.
Yes. Yes. And it sucks that like we think that way. Where it's like maybe, and it's like you're a fan of Jared Freed, so am I. Like Jared Freed always says, it's just not a match.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, like, we are not a match.
Yeah.
Everyone has a match. Like, you're just not it.
And like, it's one thing that I really learned is just because you spent a long time making a mistake doesn't mean you should power through it. It's still a mistake. Turn around, drop it.
Drop it. It's like a, what's it called? Sunk cost fallacy. Is that what it is? Kind of the idea of like staying in something because you've invested so much, so you stay in it, and it's like how many, and then it's like, and then you look back and you're like, I wasted so much time on this stupid investment that didn't pay off.
So now one thing I learned from that is to value my time more than trying to change someone's mind.
Dang. You're so freaking right though. Like, and I can even apply that to haven't had a lot of relationships, but I've had a lot of situationships where it's like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing in this? Like, I literally have recorded myself. This is sad, but I recorded my own voice talking to myself about times where I've thought about like having feelings for a certain person again, or like going back to a certain person, being like, you can't make him love you. Stop trying. Yeah.
And the reverse of that is true too. Like, I dated a guy probably about 2 years ago now. If you were to list everything I want in somebody, he checked every single box. But for whatever reason, it didn't feel right. And so now whenever something doesn't feel right, I give it one more date.
Yeah.
Maybe two if like we had actually been seeing each other for a while. And then I ended.
That's totally fair.
And I stopped trying to fall in love with potential.
Oh, yes. The idea of somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hardcore, I mean, all these things I'm saying are obviously much easier said than done.
Oh, 100%. But I mean, it's harder than people think. And it takes a lot of mental gymnastics to get through shit like that. Cause like I'm a love addict. Like I love love. I want love. And I'm very much so known for falling in love with potential, or like the maybes, or like, like the little chance that something might happen. Like I hold on to that so tight. Yeah. And you're totally right. Stop falling in love with potential. Like that's a great way to say it. Fall in love with the person who shows up for you. Like someone should be fucking showing up for you.
Yeah, there's been a guy that, geez, it's been 2 and a bit years now, and like I still have feelings for him, and it's so dumb because it's like he couldn't live up to the expectations that I have from him. You know what I mean? Like I put him on such a pedestal in my mind that if we were to actually date, I would be like, what the fuck?
You didn't do this one thing that I wanted you to do.
You know, I would just be like, who are you? This isn't who I fell in love with.
Yeah.
You would be like, oh yeah, because you're an idiot and you can't, like, my version of him is not real.
Yes. I idealize people a lot. Like I will see only like the most perfect version of them, and then I forget that there's these days that there are these moody, needy babies.
Yeah.
That I don't want to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like, if I have a good connection with somebody, like I just take it in my mind and I draw the line to the future, and I'm like, well, they're my person. I need them.
Yeah.
And so when those things fall apart, they always sting a little bit more.
They really do.
A little harder to get over.
Oh my God, big time. I'm reading this book called Getting to I Do, which is from the 90s, and it's by this relationship expert who is kind of polarizing because, I mean, obviously she was big in the 90s, so she's old. Yeah. And the book has a lot of, Geneva actually read it, and she's like, you're going to want to throw this book across the room because it talks about masculine, feminine energy and how you, like, to have a good partner, you need your complementary version. Like if you're more feminine, and it's like the feminine people want their feelings understood and the masculine people want their ideas validated or something like that. It's about like how you love. And if you want to be understood, you want to be the feminine energy, and you have to like portray yourself in a certain way to attract the masculine. And it's very interesting, but it's like there's some outdated ideas in it, but it's really making me hardcore change how I act with men. Like with my guy that I have feelings for, that is idealized and the potential, I'm not texting him anymore. I don't text. If he texts me, we can chat because we are friends. But I refuse to start the conversation. And I know that sounds like so stupid, but it makes sense. Because I'm like, if you really want to talk to me, talk to me. I'm not chasing anymore. I'm done.
And I just, even just the idea of chasing, like, if you have to chase a guy, in my opinion, they're probably not interested.
He's not your guy. You should be like meeting each other.
Yeah, like I don't know if I don't really know if this is true because I don't do it, but like I could see that girls will sort of put up a little bit of a guard more than men do. So men sometimes have to break through that little wall and then it's fine. But I don't think men do that.
Nope.
Like if they're into you, you'll know.
You'll know. But I do also think that it can get murky. Like I tend to go for guys that are very hot and cold, that are very much so acting like my boyfriend one day, and then the next day I don't hear from them. Or like the next 3 days I don't hear from them. And I'm like, this isn't fair. Be consistent. Choose like choose which one you are and stick with it so I know what's going on.
But I always think that like there's got to be a reason that they're acting that way.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think you have to remind yourself of that, right? Like,
yeah, like, and it might not have anything to do with you. It could be they had a huge project at work and they're fucking stressed and they stayed there till midnight and then they went home and they went to bed and you didn't.
Exactly.
It's not that you didn't cross their mind, but they're like, I don't have the energy to even start that conversation, so I'm not going to. I would always text somebody and be like, hey, I'm having a crazy day at work, so sorry you haven't heard from me and you ain't gonna hear from me for the rest of the night either. Take care, talk soon.
You say what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I'm dating somebody, like I will at the bare minimum check in with you every day.
Yeah. And I me as well. And when people don't do that back at me, I'm getting better at it, but like I used to be the overthinker that would just go to multiple scenarios of like, they're dating someone or they're talking to this girl or they're doing this. Like, and I've made a point to just go, don't think about it. Don't think about it.
For me, I've made a point to be like, hey, I want to hear from you every day. That's my standard.
Yeah, that's also really good too. Just setting the expectations of like, if you're into me, this is what I want.
Like I said, literally, even if it's a 20-second text while you have your fucking shit, text me and say, I have a crazy day coming up.
Yes.
Probably won't hear from me, but we'll talk soon.
Exactly.
Then I'm like, cool. Like, that did not take more than 10 seconds, 25 seconds if you're a bit of a shitty texter.
I don't think I've ever had that with a dude. I don't think a dude has ever given me that level of like reassurance.
I've asked for it.
Not yet.
You know, I've just asked for it. I've been like, look, especially if you're like getting to like the, you know, you're seeing each other 2 or 3 times a week, or you're getting to the point where you've been dating for like 2 or 3 months and, you know, you haven't defined anything. You haven't really talked about it. But like, I'll say to somebody, I'll be like, look, if I don't hear from you every day, I'm going to start assuming that you don't like me very much.
Yeah.
When I assume that you don't like me very much, I assume that I should be continuing to date other people. So you do what you want to do with that information.
Yeah, there you go. Fucking, yeah, you got to fucking put it out there.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You got to threaten their home, and their home is your vagina. So you got to say, look, I'm going to pull up a little fence. You ain't going to get in there anymore.
No waiting around. Don't wait around. I think too many women wait around.
Well, and I think it's also important too, like if I say this is my standard, you still don't live up to it, I have to walk away.
Yes. And actually that really ties into the book, because the book I'm reading, it talks about the feminine energy and how a lot of people tend to think that feminine energy is more like giving, nurturing. But actually, like she says in the book, like if you're tapping into the feminine, you're saying, this is what I want. If you don't mean it, bye-bye. Like literally as simple as that. Like it's, you say what you need. If they can't fulfill it, you move on and find someone else. Exactly. And I'm like, damn.
But you have to, if you're going to lay down the law, if you're going to put that boundary there, you have to actually be prepared
to walk away.
Yes. And that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. And I mean, maybe you're not quite prepared, but you try, you know, like try to.
Otherwise, if you and I were dating and I said, look, Sarah,
why are you breaking up with me?
Like, the thing is, my expectation is that you make time for me twice a week. And you're like, well, I'm busy. And I'm like, well, I want to date somebody that wants to date me twice a week. And you're like, okay, well, cool, fine. Let's keep dating then. And then we're still hanging out once every 2 weeks. And I'm still like, okay, that's good, fine. Now, nothing else I say you're going to take seriously.
Exactly.
Because you're like, well, stupid idiot.
And that's how resentment happens, you know? And
well, it's also, you say, well, I can get away with that. I can probably get away with this too.
Yeah.
Ugh. So if you set a boundary, you have to be prepared to say, okay, you didn't meet that boundary. Bye. And maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe they'll be like, wow, I fucked up.
Yeah, sometimes
I'll change.
Sometimes they gotta lose you to realize.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that you can't set a boundary, walk away, and then somebody realizes that you're like, okay, wait, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Give them a second chance. Like, I believe in second chances.
I do too.
Third chances and fourth chances and fifth chances. But second chances for sure.
Second chances for sure. Everyone, as long as you just admit how you fucked up. And like, that's such an important quality, I think, in people to me. Like, just the idea to be like, I fucked up this way. Here are the shitty aspects of myself.
Yeah.
And like, here's how I'm dealing with that. And I'm going to like work on it.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's the important part is I recognize it and I'm going to fix it. And this is how, you know, maybe you're going to go to therapy. Maybe you're going to, if you're too busy, maybe you're going to say, okay, well, I'll drop this other thing off my plate.
Oh, I'd love to just talk to like a couples therapist. That would be so interesting. Just because, like, I always hear there was actually one of my favorite podcasts, Guys Be Fucked. They had a therapist on who deals with marriages, and he even went on record to say, as soon as you walk through that door, the marriage is over. Like, he even admitted that, like, if you're in therapy as a couple, the chances of staying a couple at the end are very slim. Like, and I remember when I was like on the verge of breaking up with my ex, like I was like, we'll do therapy. We'll do I I was just like, we'll do anything. Let's do anything to save this thing. And it's like, the ship is going to sink. The ship is just going to sink.
I've never been to therapy of any kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've not that I couldn't probably benefit from some.
Everyone
but,
could, truly.
Yeah, I do think that if you're having relationship problems, it might be better to see a therapist separately first.
Yes.
And then, maybe be like, okay, once a month, let's do an appointment together. But
yeah,
a lot of issues are not couple issues. They're individual issues.
And then it's the mishmash of the two that create the issues, which is interesting. I've done therapy a couple times. It's very like, you'll just start bawling. Like as soon as they start like kind of probing you with questions, it's just like, my childhood. And like, you don't think your childhood, it's crazy. You don't think your childhood plays into the issues you have. And it 100%
Oh, it does for sure.
Big time.
Yeah. Like therapy, it's always been the blockade for me has always been the cost.
Yes. Agreed. Apparently it's cheaper now that like you can do it over Zoom. Like apparently rates have gone down a bit. I don't know that for sure. I heard that somewhere, but one thing that you did on Lather Rinse Repeat, which inspired a bonus episode of mine, which I just put up, was your episode where you asked people to describe you in one word.
Yeah.
And I really loved that episode because it really showed a different side of you that I don't think has really been on the podcast since you started, really. It was more about you,
Yeah, that's probably the first episode since the host introduction episode that we did where I wasn't sort of playing a character.
Interesting.
Because, I mean, where my podcast is like essentially comedy, I don't ever lie on the podcast. Everything I say happens.
Yes.
But,
you put a comedic spin on it.
Exactly. I might be telling a story that broke my heart, but I'll make it funny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're putting that filter on it because that's what the podcast is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that episode, and it's funny because it wasn't like I just thought that I'd be like, oh yeah, got one that said kind. Yeah. And then it just really like Mark actually paused it and was like, do you think you can do that without crying? And I was like, no, I don't think I can. So like,
and you know what?
Leave it in there.
I'm going to say it. I disagree with Mark. If I was your producer in that moment, I would have just left it rolling because I honestly just think it was so authentic, so genuine, so vulnerable. And if people see that and relate to that, that's even better for your show because they're going to relate to you more, you know? Like, that's what I know it's scary because, like, geez, like, I've cried on my show many times too, and it's just like...
It was just kind of embarrassing because it was like, I didn't expect, like...
You didn't expect it to happen. It was an unexpected tear up. Yeah, absolutely. But it was interesting because it showed that people can see you as one way. And you can either agree or disagree with what they say. But there's always that one thing about yourself that you're kind of hoping like people see in you.
Yeah.
You know? And you said it was the kind thing. And so one person said kind and then that kind of hit you. For me, it was like when I did it, I got a lot of really nice answers. And I was like, well, no one said smart. And I would like to be seen as smart. Okay, you know? Yeah. And it's like it kind of makes you realize like, okay, this is the area of myself that like I have to work on. Projecting out more.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Did anybody say anything about the way you look?
No.
Yeah, me either. And I don't think that didn't bother me. I was hoping that people wouldn't, that they would comment on my personality. And I think I might have even worded it and used the word like personality.
Yes. True.
To try to read that out. I can't remember how I asked the question.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was happy that nobody was like, "Oh, you're so cute."
Yeah,
because cute like gets under my skin.
It does. Like, I hate it too. I never
34-year-old woman.
Yeah, I know. but as a girl, like you tend to get either cute, hot, sexy, pretty, beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, I think we all like me personally. Out of the 5, I'd like to be called beautiful, but.
Depends on the situation for me.
Yes, that's true. I do actually really like sexy. I
Yeah, like
sexy.
if we're about to be intimate, I want you to think I'm sexy. I mean, I'll take hot, I'll take beautiful, but yeah, like bring out the S words for the sex.
And with dudes, it's like you're either hot, cute, or handsome. Is there anything else? Yeah, I think those are the only
guys can be sexy.
Guys can be sexy. It's weird. I don't use that word to describe.
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah, say what you want to hear, man. If I tell him he's sexy, he'll probably tell me I'm sexy.
I'll usually just say hot if that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that you doing that on the show is really interesting. Is there anything like through doing podcasting and specifically like in regards to relationships and shit, like, is there anything that you've learned about yourself that you're like, that's kind of like, probably a lot, eh?
Yeah, there's been a lot. I've gotten a lot of advice.
Yeah.
To be honest. And I don't know that I could take all of it just because my personality sort of clashes with some of it. And also my desire. One of my guests told me, don't sleep over. Do whatever you want to do, but don't sleep over.
That's another thing Dr. Pat Allen would agree with.
Yeah. So
she said you shouldn't fuck anyone you're interested in right away. That's what she says.
And I'm not so bad at that. Like, I will tell people on first and second dates often, like, it's just too soon. But like, I like sleeping next to somebody.
Oh, I miss it. It's been so long since I've done that.
The feelings.
Yeah, it is.
That's where I catch the feelings.
It is big time. And like, you've had guests on that. Like, another thing too is like, so you're single and you host a dating podcast, so you must get a lot of advice. Like, do you ever get people telling you why they think you're single?
That email where you told me that I'm single because I'm erratic, aggressive, and a buffoon, a drunken buffoon. Sorry, there was that. I've had people tell me that I don't know how seriously they're saying it, but just like, I'm too much. I always hear that.
I get that.
Or I'm too intense.
Yeah.
Too intense is what people often
This is a common fucking thing. This is a common fucking thing we hear. You've heard it. I've heard it. Nicole Byer, who's a louder comedian who hosts Why Don't You Date Me is literally the name of her podcast, has heard it. This is a common fucking thing. The too much, you're too intimidating, you're too loud, you're too this, too that. And it's just like, I fucking hate that. I just and
it's like, if that's your preference, if you want like a meek little mouse, sure, go find one. Yeah. But don't shame me. Just be like, don't. Anybody who tells me that I'm too intense, it's just like, you're too insecure.
And they cannot handle it.
Yeah.
I love putting that back at people. Just be like, you just can't handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, poor you. You I started doing that lately, just being like, oh, poor you. You're not interested in like a really interesting, fun, intense girl who would really be really caring and thoughtful for you. Oh, poor you. Like, I love doing that. Like, you poor thing.
And I think it depends on what stage you're at with somebody. Like, I think that the biggest thing that I've learned from doing this is, and that episode sort of helped because it's like, how do I word this? Like, I can't change anybody else's mind.
Right.
And so I want what I want, and, things click or they don't. And I don't have any real rhyme or reason for why sometimes they do and why sometimes they don't. But I can't look at somebody and be like, well, I'm so great and you're missing out, because they don't care. Like, when I end things with people, I just feel relief, that I ended it. Hopefully their feelings aren't too hurt, but like, I don't want to deal with them anymore. So if they're like texting me being like, oh, well, I was going to make $1 million next year, I'd be like, okay, bye. Like, yeah. So I've stopped trying to do that. And sometimes it's really hard. An explanation doesn't always provide the closure that you think it's going to provide.
Very true.
But I still always kind of want one.
Yeah. And I mean, and especially if I get the, it's nothing personal response a lot. And it's just like, well, what is it? Like,
yeah.
what's the issue? And I'm also to a point where I'm starting to just be like, fuck it.
Yeah, and I think that's, and like, so like the most recent situation that I had, like, you know, we had spent a fair bit of time together. We were like having sleepovers all the time, obviously having a lot of sex. I did feel like, and then he just tried to ghost me.
Right.
And it's like, no, you owe me something here.
Yeah,
and I did get, like, I got an explanation, but it was obviously a lie.
Right.
And I just kind of said, all right, fine. And I just took the lie as it was. Well, I ended up getting another explanation, but that wasn't because I asked for it.
Really? Well, yeah. I mean, and listen, like, if he's lying to you, that's on him.
Exactly.
You know, like you've done everything in a genuine way, and that's him being shitty. And he's going to have to deal with those issues down the road with another girl. Yeah. You know, like we're just passing them on to someone.
Exactly. Like, why would you want to be with somebody who thought the best, like, who was with you, who was intimate with you, and then said, you know what? I don't want to hurt her feelings, so I'll say nothing, which is the most hurtful thing you can do.
It is. And
like, I would rather have somebody text me and be like, I'm sorry, I just don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
Than ghost me.
Ghosting is terrible. It's interesting. I had like a debates live stream a couple weeks ago, and one of the debates I picked, because I thought it would be funny to hear people argue for ghosting. I was like, one of the debates I had was ghosting is totally acceptable. And I think the argument people make for ghosting is like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, which makes no sense to me at all.
Because when you're being ghosted, you're in that situation where it's like, are they busy? Yeah. Did I say the wrong thing? Should I text them again? And nothing feels worse than, and then it consumes your mind. So now it's all you're thinking about. It's like, why doesn't this person text me back? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I said I would rather get a text that says, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Please never text me again.
And I actually like it when that happens because it's clear. Like, it's really hurtful.
I would rather them be a little nicer, but
yeah. But it rips
I
the
would rather
Band-Aid
that
off.
than nothing.
It rips the fucking Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Are you the type, so when a guy's not really giving you much, do you send a text being like, why are you ghosting me? Or like, why are you being this way? Or do you just send a text and you just don't get anything back and then you do nothing?
Well, so the most recent situation is like, well, we had been talking every day. So I sent them a message, but it was probably like dinner time. I knew they were at work. They didn't respond, but it was a statement.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, didn't really require a response, I guess, if they're busy.
Right.
So then the next day, it was probably like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and I sent them a question.
Right.
And they didn't respond.
And then that, yeah.
And then so the next day, like, it was pretty late at night because I was a little tipsy. I just said, hey, you've been pretty quiet since I saw you on whatever day. What's up?
Right. Yeah, that's good. What's up?
Then then they responded to that.
Was it like a vague answer?
Yeah, and it was really stupid. And so, but it also wasn't finalized either. It was just like, oh yeah, hey, like, I've just been like really had a lot of things on my mind or whatever. And I was like, okay, like, it's cool for you to need space, but next time you do, can you let me know?
Yeah, that's nice.
And then I'll give you the space instead of just texting you every day.
Absolutely.
And so then they didn't respond to that. And I think then 2 days later, I texted them and said, so is this just done then?
Right.
And they didn't respond to that. And then I sent them like a big text that was like, the way that you're acting after all the nice ways that you did act, the way that you're acting now is really hurtful and it's really rude, and I deserve an explanation, and I don't understand why you would be like this.
Yes.
And I was like, this is it. This is the last time I'm fucking texting this guy. If he doesn't respond, I'm going to block his number and he's out of my life.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the chances of me running into that person again are like medium. They're not nilch. So
especially now, like.
Yeah. Anyway, he did respond to that. He lied, but at least.
Yeah, that's fucking brutal. Ugh. That is like, why can't people just be straight up? I don't get it. It makes no sense, especially at this age. Like, we're
Well, it's a sign of immaturity because they can't own their decision.
They can't. No.
And they would rather feel like themselves a little pat on the back and say, I didn't hurt anyone's feelings here, than do something or say something to somebody that might make them cry.
Yeah.
But guess what? I cried a lot anyway because you were mean to me, and then you ghosted me, and then you lied to me. So like there were a lot of tears, sir.
Yeah. Fuck.
Probably way more than there would have been had you just been like, hey, this is what's up.
Right.
When I finally found out what happened, I understood.
Right.
You know, it was like, okay, I see what you did and why you made that choice, and I get it. I'm upset, but now I'm upset at the situation. I'm not upset at you.
Exactly.
So, frankly, he could have saved me a lot of time and pain with the truth, and I would have thought he was a better person for it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, let's say 2 years down the road, we run into each other again. If he had told me the truth and he was like, hey, you know, really like to try that again, I would have been like, sure. But
exactly.
Now it's like, well, how are you going to make up for all the shitty stuff that you did?
Nope. Oh my dear God. That's fucking terrible. I'm sorry that you've been going through that. That's shit. That's shit.
It's been over a month now. So.
Well, that's good. Are you someone how do you get over someone? What are your go-to?
I get under someone.
That's what everyone says, right? But is that how you do it? Are you like a rebounder?
Not necessarily with sex, but
fine. Like
typically, yeah, I will go on dates to get my mind off it. Usually, I would just spend time with friends.
Yeah.
That was, I think, another unique thing about this more recent situation is I couldn't do anything.
You couldn't distract yourself with.
I'm home alone with my thoughts by myself. Like so that was kind of shitty. Like, yeah, I'll just like go for dinner with my friends. It never feels good to get your feelings hurt, but like I look at stuff from my past that I literally thought was going to kill me, and I got over it. So I just sort of,
and that's the thing.
I remind myself of that.
It's you're gonna feel better eventually. Like it's not. It is temporary. The best advice I was ever given about getting over someone, and I did this in my last breakup, was physically write down all the reasons why this person hurt you, why they're bad for you, and put it on your fucking wall and look at that all the time, because too often we go to, oh, but we had so much fun, and this aspect was great, and when I did it, I actually wrote 2 lists. I wrote all our fun, happy memories, and then I wrote all the bad things, and I actually such an emo kid, but I burned the other one, like literally like I'm a little bit hippie woo woo, but it felt like, all right, those were great, but they don't matter because look at all these, like. Yeah. Look at how all of these outweigh the happy times, kind of thing.
And even like a quicker version of that is my friend Emily. She said that like the way that she sort of deals with those sort of things is she'll pick 3 things about them that suck. And then anytime she starts thinking happy things about them, she just repeats those 3 things. So I could be like,
lying,
ghosting, lying, farter.
And those are 3 legit things.
Like, yes. Like, oh, remember that time that we did? And ghosting, lying, farter. Yeah. Ghosting, lying, farter. And then you immediately switch your perspective.
It totally just, it reminds you why they weren't right and why it's a good thing. Even though it hurts and sucks right now, in the long run, it's going to be a good thing for you because they did these terrible things.
Exactly.
It is rough, though.
And
it is rough.
I mean, like I had a situation this fall, I guess. We met in like July and ended things in October, but we only hung out a handful of times in a really long span of time. But like, this guy is gorgeous. Yeah. Just so hot. It just was like, we had such a good time. Like when we would actually hang out, it always felt like a really good time. But he was just like not looking for a relationship and just not that into me, frankly. Yeah. But And I was fine with that. Like, it was summertime. I was having fun with my friends. It was no big deal. But, like, I was pretty enamored with him just physically.
Yes.
He had a sexy voice.
Oh,
he had
I love
great
a good
hair.
voice. Yeah.
He had a good tan. He was good at a sport. Like he was just like sex on a silver platter. I was really into him. And then so when that ended, it was like nothing really that he did hurt my feelings, but I used that. It was just like, I can't even remember what the 3 words that I picked were, but like I would just be like, I had a couple like screenshot photos of him where he looked hot as fuck, and I would look at them and then I'd be like, nope, and I would repeat those 3 words.
Well, there you go. But that's just it, right? Like you have to like change your perspective on it, and you can still appreciate that experience happened.
Oh yeah,
and that it was like
the way that he looks
for the book kind of thing.
Don't give a fuck about him anymore.
Well, because we all have those like lovers that were like, oh, that was a good like a good catch.
It was very explosive.
Like, yeah, there you go.
We had a very explosive sexual chemistry.
Ooh, I love me some explosive sexual chemistry.
It wasn't great when I had to text him and be like, hey, can you delete that video?
Oh no! Oh man! Oh, like together, or like was it just you by yourself?
Oh no, we took it while we were
together. I've only done that with my first boyfriend, but I think that's so hot, and I would be down to do that with somebody.
I mean, I think that as much as like he wasn't like the match for me long term, I think he was a trustworthy guy. Like I trust that he did delete it. And frankly,
right.
if he didn't, like, you're in it too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
nobody wanted to see your little dick.
I'm not as nervous about nudes and stuff like that as a lot of people. Like I'm just kind of like, okay, if you leak this, that's gonna suck if my parents find out. But otherwise, otherwise you're welcome, world.
Yeah, like I look great. So
if I sent that photo to someone, it's a nice photo. Like you don't send the 17 million that you took before that, and it's a lot. It's a lot to get a good shot, especially vagina shots. It's a lot of clunkers in those.
Sometimes like I'll be going down I'll be sexting with somebody and I'll like have used everything that's like saved in my phone, and they're like wanting more, and I'm like, okay. And I'm taking like real-time shots, and then I'll like look at them the next day and I'm like, you are a filthy tramp. Right. What's wrong with you? Delete. And then I'm like, well, they have them.
It's funny because I don't know which one of Jared's podcasts this was recently, but he was talking about recycled nudes and how every nude is recycled, because even if you did it live, like you still took a bunch before.
Oh yeah.
That
for
one.
Sure.
So I have one more question for you, and then we're going to get into our quick little quiz thing. If you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question to you is, so this quarantine has people acting in some sort of way at this point. There's a lot of single horniness going on.
Yes.
I actually have 2 questions. Number 1, have you fallen into the category or the phase of quarantine where you're texting exes yet?
I messaged one time, and it was a couple weeks ago. It was right after the thing with that person sort of happened, and I just wanted validation.
Okay, was it like a flirty text or like?
I think I just said, "How's your quarantine going?"
Oh, okay. So not like.
And they never wrote back.
Okay, interesting. Because a lot of people are like reaching back into the black book and like.
I know, and like honestly, I haven't even received any really of those texts. So like, there's been a few people. Yeah, like there's been a couple people where like I maybe had 1 or 2 dates with, and like they'll check in, but like they haven't been like, so are you seeing anybody?
Right.
Like they haven't.
It's weird. I find that my Hinge matches have like increased big time since quarantine, and everyone opens with, "How's your quarantine treating
what the
you?"
fuck? Like, could you be more boring?
I know.
Like I texted that person, "How's your quarantine going? I hoped he was going to be like super lonely, come over."
Right. Well, you knew that.
That's
person.
what I was hoping for.
Yeah, you have a pre relationship with them, but like when strangers do it, I'm like, you're just looking for a jerk off.
How's your quarantine going? I don't know. It's great. Like I sit around in my pajamas. Sometimes I put on underwear. Maybe I'll just use a blanket as clothing that day. I'm also eating my body weight every day. How's yours?
Are you currently working from home or no? Yeah.
I got laid off on the 12th, so before everything even shut down.
Brutal.
So even when this is all over, I do not have a job.
Ugh, I feel you. Me too. My other question is, so with the single horniness, and you know, maybe people have friends with benefits or like hookup friends that they're texting. I've reached the stage with my hookup buddy where we are like trying to figure out ways to break quarantine. Right. What are your thoughts on breaking quarantine?
Honestly,
during this time. This is a very controversial topic.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably going to get thrown in fucking jail for this. But honestly, I think that not really enough people are getting this virus for it to actually progress through society and go away. I think that flattening the curve is obviously what we need for hospitals to not reach over capacity. Mm-hmm. But here in this province, we don't have very many hospitalized cases at all.
We don't.
And at this rate, we're going to be inside for a long time.
Yes.
And economically, we're going to have to reopen business. And
at some point, yeah.
I think that our second wave is going to be much worse if we don't strategically make some people sick. So, and this is, I am not a medical person whatsoever. I have a business degree. This is literally my opinion.
This is an opinion, people. Don't come for Jess. She's allowed to have an opinion.
So, yeah, I'm nervous that the numbers don't really increase by what I think that they should be doing. We flattened the curve a little too much. And it's not like we're PEI, who's managed to pretty much completely eradicate it. We're always going to have a couple cases, and it's just going to mean this is going to last for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're an essential worker working at the hospital around COVID patients, yeah, you should probably not go see anyone else. You should not go to the grocery store. You should not roll through Tim Hortons. You should fucking go to work and you should go home. I sit at home all day, every day. For me to go on a walk with somebody where we still stand 4 feet apart,
yeah,
I think that's okay.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I'm doing it. I'm not going to say that I am or I'm not, but I don't see a real issue with that. I think that, like, if I went over to your house and I can see you have 2 couches there, if I sat on one and you sat on the other, and, you know, I don't touch my face and I wash my hands both before and after the bathroom, I don't really see why that would be an issue. Again, I'm not doing that, but I think more people need to get this virus for it to work its way through our society, because I don't think we're going to get to 0 cases.
Yeah, very true. No, you're probably right. Probably fucking right. But what?
And I mean, like, immunocompromised people.
Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't apply. Whatever I'm saying doesn't apply to them.
Yeah, this is all situational. This is all situational.
But, like, you know, I don't have anything wrong with me. And I know that there's been a few cases of perfectly young, healthy people dying. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. It really is. But mm-hmm. I think that the toll on mental health, I think that the toll on people who live in situations of domestic violence or poverty, I think that the toll on people who can't work and are, I'm stressed about money.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, me too. I haven't even gotten my EI yet.
Yeah, me either. And, like, I have to pay rent. I just had to skip my non-essential bills so that I would still have enough money to pay rent on the 1st. It's like, electricity, cool, not going to pay that this month. Line of credit, cool, not going to pay that this month. Credit card, and, like, yeah, I can go in and, like, defer the payments or whatever, but, like, you're still paying interest on it then.
Yeah. Yeah, so especially the mental health implications, because I had one of my best friends die, and I haven't hugged anyone.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I'd like to do more research into it, but, like, skin hunger is people laugh, but it's a legit thing. We're not used to going this long without any contact at all. Like,
exactly. And people like yourself and I, we live alone.
We live alone, and it's hell. Like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm getting to a point where the good days are more than the bad days, but even the good days are, like, just okay. You know?
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't really feel bored, but I don't feel a lot of joy. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine. Yeah, TV's cool, and doing this is really nice. But it's not the same.
It's not the same at all.
Going, you know, to a show or going to a bar or even just going to visit. Like I normally go to my grandma's every Sunday. I haven't seen her. I went over there to pick up a puzzle, and like she lives in an apartment building, and she came down and like she stood on one side of my car, I stood on the other side of the car. She put the puzzle on the hood of the car. I took it, like,
and that's it. That's the most you can do. It's crazy.
5-minute chat.
It's crazy, and just the thought that this could go into next year is just insane.
Well, they're closing down a lot of Asian countries again now for the second wave, and that's what I mean. Like, I guess where they don't know whether if you've had it once you can get it again.
They don't know that yet. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if that is the case, like they should figure that out, because if you can't get it twice, then they should be almost strategically letting people get sick, like the same way that we did with the chicken pox when we were kids.
Yeah, it's gonna reach a point where it's just gonna be like, you know what, we gotta get back to it.
Well, I mean, how much money can the government borrow from the World Bank to support us as citizens with our economy the way that it is right now? I mean, you've got people like Jeff Bezos, who's making more money than he's ever made because we're all sitting on Amazon fucking sad buying shit. And he's still asking employees to donate their vacation time to other employees so that they can still get paid.
Yeah, it's just...
I'm sorry, what, sir? Like, how much money do you have?
A lot. A lot.
You are a billionaire.
Yeah.
With a B.
Oh, my Lord. It's just crazy. Like, it's just, it's... we will never forget this time. But at the same time, it's like, for people like you and I who are single people in our 30s, we want someone to build our life with. We don't want just time to tick on by. And, you know, like, it's, people are going to eventually be going out and dating again, probably at some point.
Yeah. And I mean, even just like with the weather getting warmer, like we've already, like, I mean, Stephen McDougall's constantly shaming us on how poorly we're doing at staying home. But I think honestly, in these politicians' minds, they want to be able to stand up at the end of this and be like, we had X number of deaths, so we did good, and we did better than that province, and we did better than that province. It can't be about actual number of deaths.
Yeah,
as long as we did better, then that's how I think the politicians are seeing it in a way.
Yeah, it's sad, eh? It's sad. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh boy. But, well, we're trying our best to get through it. We're trying our fucking best. I'm going to end this off with a little psychology analysis of you.
Okay.
In an interesting way. I've done this once before in the show, and it was quite interesting. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions about is just 4 questions. So the first one is your favorite animal.
Penguin.
Okay, what are 3 things about a penguin that you like about
I like the way they walk.
Okay.
Because they waddle.
Okay.
They're cute.
Okay.
And I like that the man carries the egg.
So it's like kind of romantic? Would you say?
Yeah, that's romantic. It's romantic that the man takes the egg and he carries it.
Okay. Your favorite article of clothing? That you like, of yours,
like a very specific one.
Yeah. Or like one of your favorites, one of your go-tos.
I got these black pants that I really like.
Are those your leather pants that you wore at the speed dating event?
No, these are like casual.
Oh, okay. Black pants. Okay. What about those pants? Like, why do you love those pants?
I like that they're casual pants, but you can dress them up.
Okay.
They have an elastic waistband.
Okay.
And they look good with runners or with like little flats, which I guess is the same as dressing it up or dressing it.
So what I get from that is, like they're like versatile, like you can.
Yeah, they're
versatile, and then like, would you say like comfortable?
Yeah, and stylish.
And stylish.
I get a lot of compliments on those pants.
Oh, good. Well, you can rock a pair of pants.
Thank you.
And stylish. Perfect. And then this is a weird one. your favorite body of water. So that can be either vague, like you can say river, ocean, like, or it can be very specific if you have like a specific ocean or lake that you love. And
my
why.
favorite body of water.
Yeah.
Banook Lake.
Ooh, okay. Banook Lake. And what about that do you love?
That's where I learned to swim.
Okay.
It's a good lake to walk around. And it's a good lake to go skinny dipping in.
Ooh, okay. So skinny
when
dipping.
it's not like covered in blue-green algae and you can't.
That's interesting. What can I take from that? So you have childhood memories? Would you like?
Yeah, it's kind of like I grew up around it, and it's nostalgic.
Nostalgic. That's a good word. Nostalgic. Awesome. And how would you feel if you were alone in an empty white room? What kind of feelings do you think that would?
Why am I in the room?
You just are.
It's like if I was put there with no explanation, I'd probably feel scared.
Let's say that you
if it was like I had an appointment with the room and I knew about it, then I'd probably feel okay.
You'd probably feel okay. So
I'd probably feel uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Okay. Because it's like there's nothing in it and it's just white. So
yeah, like where are you supposed to sit? Where are you going to lay down? How long do I have to be here? I would have questions.
So would you be like antsy?
Yeah, I'd be uncertain.
Uncertain. And antsy. Okay. Perfect. So your favorite animal. And by the way, this is Freud. Freud developed this test, and Whitney Cummings asks her podcast guests this a lot, and I just find it so interesting. So your favorite animal is how you see yourself. So you said penguin, and we talked about like romantic, cute. That word that you hate is how you would see yourself.
Super.
And also, like, I would say with penguin, cuddly, maybe? Are you cuddly?
Yeah,
person?
I mean, they're so like.
Exactly. So
like
that's how you see yourself. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then article of clothing is actually how others perceive you, which is interesting.
From comfort and
comfortable,
versatile?
stylish, and versatile.
I could see versatile.
Yeah. And this next one's a big left turn. So body of water is your views on sex.
Nostalgic.
When you were talking about childhood, I was like, gotta ease away from this one. Nostalgic. You talked about skinny dipping. So maybe that could be like, maybe
risky?
that's, yeah, I was just gonna say like, maybe that's kind of like exhibitionist-y, which is interesting.
I also learned to swim there, so I lost my virginity pretty early because I was curious.
There you go. Well,
so who knows?
I don't think most people would just like be into skinny dipping. So that's definitely probably something about you. And then white room is your views on death. So you said uncomfortable, uncertain, anxious, which makes sense.
I'd have a lot of questions, which I do.
Well, because some people say like, oh, I would be calm and I would be serene. Like it's interesting. And then if that ties into how you see death, because, I mean, I know with me personally, I'm terrified of death. Like, it's such an issue for me. I'm terrified of it. But some people aren't.
I've never really thought much about it. Like, I know I'm going to die someday, and that's how she goes. But, like, anytime that I've kind of had, like, close calls or anything, like, I'm pretty scared still.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a little personality test, which is kind of fun. I
Nice.
love doing that with people I don't know well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's always interesting. But we're going to wrap it up because we've been recording for 2 solid hours, girl.
Have we really? Oh my
I have
goodness.
2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours on the clock. So
I just got a lot to say,
That was really, really awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Tell everybody where they can find the podcast, where they can follow the podcast.
Sure. So we are on Apple and Spotify and really wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at Lather Rinse Repeat Podcast. Myself, personally, my page is Jess M. Poole.
Yes.
You can always email me, hello@Lather Rinse Repeat Podcast. And on Twitter, we are LRR_podcast.
Yes, follow
And
her.
I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter, but like I'm really funny on Twitter.
Yes.
I actually tweeted Chrissy Teigen recently.
Oh my God,
I sent her the biggest burn of her life.
I meant to fucking bring that up. You called her out. You called her out.
Important. Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
Well, so obviously I have been messaging people who are a little out of my league, podcast wise. And she tweeted that like she was annoyed about people like DMing her or contacting her for stuff, and then she wrote, especially the podcasts. So I tweeted back at her, "Stop acting like you were born a legend," which is amazing because
put the
she's
tweet
married.
in here, Sarah. Put it right here.
Yeah, put it right there next to my face.
There we go.
She is obviously married to John Legend, so that's what makes that tweet hilarious.
I get it. That's so funny. Wow. And she's like someone who's like really widely loved, so that takes some balls to like put that out there about Chrissy Teigen.
I wish that I had like saw it as soon as she said that and was able to like get it while it was still active, because I'm sure it would have garnered some attention.
Did people like it? You're like, comment?
Just one, but it was because it was like, you know, probably 18 hours after she had tweeted it that I saw it.
And so many people tweeted her. I'll go and like that for you. I'll give you another like on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's
my Twitter account's hilarious.
We talked briefly about this last night, but like just props to you for shooting your shot and getting some bigger podcast guests, and props to those podcast guests that agree to come on and help out smaller podcasts.
Yeah.
I think that's so nice, and yeah, there's definitely snobs out there, and fuck them.
Yeah, and like everybody started their podcast. They all know how it feels, and you know, maybe they had some sort of following to begin with, so they gained traction a lot faster, but like
a lot have, yeah.
Everybody that's had a podcast has had to punch up with guests.
And I think that's part of why like Ashley and Raina, is it Raina? Yeah, Raina. Like their story is so inspiring because like they didn't really, I guess they kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, but One Hungry Jew had like something crazy like 400,000 followers or something, and Bros Being Basic had almost 1 million.
Right. Okay. So I guess they did have an existing fan base, but it is tough to grow a show when you don't have that.
Yeah.
So, and if you are a bigger person,
even still now, like
it is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fucking easy.
And like, what the fuck else are you doing right now? Like, I get that not everybody has hours and hours to sit down and chat, but like I've been keeping chats with these people who are like bigger and cooler, like, to 30 to 45 minutes.
And then that's a little bit of their time, and then you throw their listeners their way, and then some of their listeners come your way, and it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that I'm asking for too much.
Of course not.
These people, I mean, they want their name out there. Like, even if, like, let's say 100 people listen to my podcast and they've never heard of one of these people. Well, they're stand-up comedians. So now the next time you see a Netflix special from, let's say, you know, Joe Blow, I don't know, and you're like, oh, I've heard of them, I'm going to watch it. So, yeah, they might not get podcast guests or podcast followers or podcast listeners or whatever out of it, but, like, you're more likely to watch something that you recognize.
Yep, very, very
it's
true.
Like, I find that really true with history. Like, I'm more interested in history of somewhere if I've been there. Or if I'm going somewhere that I know something about, like
if there's a reason.
When you walk into a famous museum, you want to go see the paintings you've heard of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's just the way that the world works.
Yeah.
Or the human brain works.
Exactly.
We like to draw neat little lines with things that we already know.
So true.
So
true. Yeah, that's exciting.
Getting your name out there.
Everyone stay tuned for Jess's episode with Ashley from Girls Gotta Eat, and check out Girls Gotta Eat because it's a really good podcast. I enjoy it quite a bit. So thanks so much, Jess, for coming on. This was amazing.
Very welcome. My pleasure.
Normally people, because they're physically here with me, they get to ring this bell, but I'm just going to get you to pretend that you're ringing the bell. And ding. There we go. So awkward. It's my gimmick.
Jeez. I should have got a bell.
I'll Photoshop a bell in and your hand.